Good morning and welcome. I am so psyched to be back here at the Mountain Travel Symposium. My role as a forum producer is to create and produce the content at these general sessions, the workshops, and destinations at MTS. My goal is to make sure that content is educational, inspirational, and entertaining. I think we got off to a great start with Eric Barker this morning. Thank you very much, Eric. That truly was awesome. Now we move to the view from the top. These four gentlemen on stage with me this morning have over 75 years of combined experience in the mountain travel industry. If you add my years as the founder and CEO of Moguls Mountain Travel, a ski tour operator from way back in the day, we have over 100 years of ski industry experience on stage right now. The resorts these guys run are based in West Virginia, New Jersey, Vermont, Maine, Quebec, Ontario, Colorado, California, and British Columbia. And just like there's different ways to get up a mountain, for example, maybe it's a gondola to get you halfway, and then a chairlift to get you close to the top, and then a T-bar or another chair to get to the bowls or the glacier. There's a lot of different ways to get to where these guys are running a resort. So I think it's a good idea to start and listen to what they did to get to the top. For example, Andy started out as an intern at Steamboat Ski Resort. Then he worked his way up the ladder through different sales and marketing positions, finally getting into executive roles there, and then moved over to IntraWest, where he became the chief marketing officer and executive vice president. Finally, he got to his current role at Squaw Valley Holdings as the president and CEO. Dana has spent over 30 years in the ski industry, all in the state of Maine. First at Sugarloaf, and then he moved up to the American Skiing Company, which owned Sugarloaf at the time and owned a good number of resorts in the United States. And finally over to Sunday River, where he's been the general manager and president for the past 10 years. Then we have Dave Brownlee, one of our hosts. Dave's been here in Whistler for over 25 years in the industry. He started with Blackcomb Skiing Enterprises. He worked his way up, and then he co-led the integration between Blackcomb and Whistler to create this great resort that we know as Whistler Blackcomb today. Dave became president in 2007 and CEO in 2012. Then we have Tom Morano. Tom, kind of like a tram at Jackson Hole or Snowbird or the Agui de Midi lift in Chamonix, went right from the bottom to the top. You see, he spent 30 years in banking and real estate, and his first job in the ski industry is CEO of IntraWest. Welcome to the ski industry, Tom.
Thank you.
I didn't know that was the bottom.
So there's a lot of ways that these guys got to where they are, and I think a great place to start is with leadership. I want to hear from you what successes and failures you saw as you moved your way to where you are today, and really what can you recommend to those in the audience that are interested in moving up into leadership roles at their resorts or other resorts, and what you would recommend they do to get there. Andy, let's start with you.
Sure, Bruce, thanks. And thanks to Dave and the folks at Tourism Whistler for hosting us and this event. Quickly, I tell you, I had the occasion as CMO at IntraWest to be down in Vancouver, and I tell you, every moment I could, it's a beautiful town, beautiful city, but every moment I could, I'd get to Whistler. It's a great spot. Relative to leadership, I'll keep it pretty simple and straightforward. I tell you, from the get-go, starting as an intern, I'd like to think that I spent a lot of time learning, actively learning, some of the traits and characteristics of some of the great leaders in our industry. Not only what to do, but what not to do. Frankly, you can, in fact, learn by contrast. Some of the traits and characteristics I aspire to and still aspired and still aspire to are being thoughtful, being a very active, excellent listener. There's a certain aspect of leadership called servant leadership, where as much you're trying to develop a values-based culture that is basically allowing people in an autonomous role to succeed, and you're supporting them, and your true success as a leader is actually supporting them in their success. And And I've also learned from people here on the panels, not the least of which is Dave Brownlee, who's an exceptional leader of this incredible resort, and Dana Bolin back 15 years ago. Simple thoughts, like sometimes some of the best deals you make are the ones you walk away from. And so a lot of it has just been nonstop active learning and trying to learn from some of the great people in this industry.
Great. Dave?
There's always lots to learn for sure, and I'll start with one is hard work. I mean, you better have a passion for the business because it's a lot of work, and you better have fun while you're doing it because you're going to do a lot of it. But in our business, we're probably maybe have not quite the resource structure as maybe a lot of other larger businesses, and so your ability as an individual to help your team, help your boss, get things done, come with solutions, and get involved in things that are maybe beyond things that you're working on a day-to-day day-to-day basis. And if you can do those things, do them well, interact with other people outside maybe your area of expertise, and build up your expertise within the business, with outside of the business, and come with solutions. And I think that'll help go a long way. And it's all about experience. So if you can get yourself into that spot where they go, okay, here's the baton, go for it, see what you can do. And I know this business is a lot about trial by fire. And I remember back, in the old Interwest days, my boss, Hugh Smythe, who I learned tremendous from, we were buying resorts and I was getting involved in the acquisitions. And we bought one resort. I don't know if anybody's here from Panorama Mountain Resort in southeastern British Columbia. And we actually bought it for tax losses. And so we bought this resort, so I was involved in it, and my boss took me for lunch and said, hey, how would you like to, run that resort, oversee it? And it was the MBA of ski resort business that I was able to get myself into that position. And I learned, tremendous from that. And then from that, you're able to then build up and build your, opportunities and expertise as you go forward. So, get involved, try different things. Don't be scared to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but that's how you learn. So,
Great. Tom?
I would say it's really key to have an open mind and listen to the people who work with you, listen to your customers and your vendors, and then think long and hard about the decisions you make. And the key is to actually make decisions. I have a trading background, and I was once told, you have the opportunity to make 100 decisions in a day. If you make 100 decisions a day, the odds are that most of them will be good decisions if you are thoughtful about what you do. But to be thoughtful, you have to listen to the people around you, you have to think about what they say, and then you have to be prepared to take a risk. And when you make a mistake, you have to analyze the risk and pick yourself back up and go try again.
Dana?
Bruce, I struggled with the name of this session, A View from the Top. Boyne has put our leadership group through the servant leadership Andy talked about. So using that theory, it would be a view from the bottom, making sure that we're providing the tools and serving the people that work with us. It's the teams that actually get things done on a daily basis. And I didn't always manage that way. It was always a charge the hill. I think the one constant as we move through this is the passion for what we do. If you're going to spend half your waking hours doing something for work, you might as well find something that you love. And I think that everybody sitting at this chair would say that we all do something we love.
Well, we all have the benefit that we are in the ski industry, so that's why we're here, obviously. Certainly not for the pay, but maybe for you guys. But okay, let's move forward with leadership. And I think what maybe some of the people in this room want to know about is succession planning. So what are you doing to make sure that when you're not in your current role, you have the right people to come up and take your place? Let's go ahead and start with you, Dave.
Well, certainly as a public company, it's actually very important, certainly from a board governance point of view. So, we're always looking at the people that are coming up in our organization, and are the people there that can make that next step? Are they getting the opportunities to grow and do different things to, grow with the company and see what they can do? the real challenge in this industry, again, it goes back to, you know, you may have somebody in a spot that you think is the logical successor, but maybe they actually don't want to move up. Maybe they're really comfortable where they are in that position. Maybe they don't want that next level of, you know, responsibility, stress, et cetera. And then so what do you do? Because as an industry, we can't afford to have another person in that position. So that's something that's, you know, that's really important. But, you know, understanding where you have strength and where you have weakness is the start, right? And then how do you, you know, how do you build on your weaknesses and strengthen that, you know, that opportunity? And it's, you always like to promote inside because I think that creates a lot of excitement, but there's always opportunity to bring in people from the outside to strengthen your organization.
Well, let's talk about that because IntraWest obviously did not promote from inside. So, so there's got to be a lot of succession planning going on at IntraWest, not just at the corporate level, but in your resorts.
It's actually a very good question for IntraWest because we're currently interviewing for 2 resort positions, 2 presidents of a resort right now. And what I would say is the industry actually does need succession planning. You have an industry with a lot of people who are in their 50s and older, and a lot of the young people that are in the industry are in their 20s and 30s, and there's not a lot in the middle. So as we've looked at candidates and evaluated both inside and out, one of the things that I've concluded in working with my team is you really have to take the time, again, in a corporate structure, to get to know not just the head of your resorts, but the people 2 or 3 jobs beneath the head of your resort. You have to mentor the people. Believe it or not, you know, I've always focused on mentoring people between 25 and 30 in my business because, in my prior business, because somebody always did that for me. So mentoring is critical. Then you have to, as others have said, evaluate the skill sets people have, and you have to have an open mind to sending someone for training. You know, that training could be leadership management, it could be anger management, it could be teamwork building, but, you know, it's a little expensive, but in the long run, you salvage an employee and help them grow. And in all of the times I've done this, 95% of the people have come back and thanked me for the training, even if it was something they didn't want to do. So you have to focus on training people and mentoring them and getting to know them multiple levels down below your resort chiefs.
So Dana, I know there was just a transition in your resort or to another resort in Maine. Why don't you talk about that and what you've seen?
One of my good friends, John Diller, just retired after 30 years at Sugarloaf. We had intentionally set up a gentleman who was a lodging person with mountain operations to gain that experience to be ready to step into John's spot. Rather than talk about the process, I'll talk to you about results. I counted this morning, there are 6 active presidents of ski resorts that have been out of Sunday River in the last 17 years. So it's something that we actually have practiced.
Great. Well, while we're on leadership, let's talk about another topic. I think it's obvious we got a bunch of old white guys up on stage here. What are you all doing to bring in more women, more young people, and even people of color up to the executive suite? We'll let you start that one, Tom.
So we actually have 3 women on our senior leadership team, and you know, for that I have to thank Bill Jensen, who came before me. Those women contribute in a unique way, and when we are interviewing for jobs, we make an effort through our HR team to make sure we're inclusive of female candidates. On the minority side, I would say, well, we look for them. The problem is we don't find a lot that are naturally attracted to the industry, and we have to work on that, both from a management point of view and also from a customer demographic point of view.
And youth?
Youth, I tell you, I am really excited by the fact that I'm working with a large group of people in Denver corporate of IntraWest that are pretty much between 25 and 35. There might be 5 or 6 people in the office that are my age or up, and not up very much from my age. So I make sure that when I'm working with someone and I see them do something that's dangerous, not a good business practice, not a good corporate governance practice. I coach them on how to do it better.
Dana, how about on the East Coast?
So the truth is that the two words that describe it is not enough. We do a pretty good job with the youth and the people that are there, but not enough bringing people in of diversity.
It's interesting. I'll go ahead and put our company as an example of, and by the way, I have to eschew the old white guy title, just on behalf of all of us. But it's tragically true, and it dominates the industry. And in our company, I'm proud to say that we have a very diverse, based on gender and other criteria, if you will, a very diverse executive team. And I was pointed out to me not too long ago that I have of an executive team of 9 people, 5 females, and it was interesting is it was kind of a moment of, we found that not by intent, but by culture, and it was really about hiring the best people for the best position. So that is theoretically something I could hold up for you as an example of what to do, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you. It was just because I was simply hiring the best people for these roles, and maybe in and of itself, that's great. But on the other hand, I have a division department that I've been very actively challenging the leadership of that division department, because it truly is. Some 82 old white guys, and just fundamentally defining it and saying this is not acceptable, not necessarily from a Machiavellian or an authoritarian perspective, but this is fundamentally not acceptable. Don't change or redefine your standards, but you have to adapt and change the culture of that division first. To be able to bring about those desired changes in basically all criteria, whether it be gender, age, or others.
Yeah, great. Dave?
Yeah, well, I would say we're not doing it. We're not doing enough at the management level. We actually have, I think, 84 managers. We have 36 females, which is great, 43%, not too bad. When you get to the senior level, we have 2 out of 14. We've had a number of positions where we've had an opportunity to bring in new people, and it has been, we've made a conscious attempt to make sure we had, a diversity of candidates, and it was, we hired the best candidates, and they happened to be men at the time, but you kind of look at that and you go, well, how do you challenge that? How do you make a difference? And it is something that's high on our list that we're really conscious of, and we really want to make a difference. The other side of it is the diversity question, and it's becoming very apparent that huge opportunities in our business, certainly on the West Coast, with the population, the new Canadians, the Asia Pacific region, where we really need to bring people of diversity into our organization. And quite frankly, it has not been a focus and hasn't been and needs to be, because if we want to grow our business in those regions, having that individual, that intelligence, that background, I think will just go a long way for growing our business at the end of the day, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, as we talked about yesterday, if you really want to go and get the Asian market, you kind of need some Asian help in management to figure it out.
You bet. I've learned more about the Chinese market in Vancouver by talking to actually somebody that counts the money in the vault in our organization at lunchtime. Okay, well, that's interesting, right? So how do we get that kind of an individual or somebody with that background into maybe another position in the company that could have more opportunity to make a difference?
Yeah. All right, so let's do a little quick lightning round. We're going to start with you, Dana, and we'll just come across one thing that you think is the best idea for the future of the industry. Just one, don't repeat each other.
So I think mine is actually retroactive. One time the ski industry was more glamorous and viewed as more sexy even by the general population. And I think we need to go back and help promote that mountain lifestyle again. I think we've gotten away from that. We promote skiing to skiers. I think it's time for all of us to refocus our energies there.
So sex.
It all boils down to
That's
that,
what I
doesn't
heard.
it?
Okay.
Passion, he said passion too.
I would say we really have to focus hard to reduce the friction points for people to participate, whether it's through technology, reducing lines, or frankly through cost. We're not going to solve the demographic problem unless we can figure out how to make it more financially accessible. to people in this country that don't have the financial resources to pay, $100 to $150 for a lift ticket.
So you're going to use technology innovation to make it easier to come skiing,
And reduce costs.
figure out how to reduce costs by reducing your cost to make it cheaper to come
That's
skiing.
correct.
Dave?
I'm thinking massive gondolas that join mountains together. We've done that.
That was a good idea. I copied that one.
It's,
You did.
I don't think there's a silver bullet, but the more people that we can introduce to the mountains, whether that's sliding or hiking or mountain biking or whatever, I think we'll win. And so I think that's what it's all about. And I think there's a bunch of different ways to do that. And in my dream, how could you get mountain recreation as a part of the education system? In North America, it's healthy, it's outdoors, it's fun, it's a great environment. That would be something. But how do you get those people, into that experience, the opportunity, and where can you then take them?
Yeah, we're all in the ski industry, but we're also all in the mountain travel industry. That's the name, Mountain Travel Symposium. Those Destination BC videos are just gorgeous, aren't they? And there's no skiing in them, really. It just shows how beautiful it is to be in the mountains and how beautiful BC is. So I think that's a great one. Andy?
Well, to combine what Dave and Dana said, you have sex and education, right? So sex, education. is where that goes. And I'm going to end that one.
Okay.
I would drive harder on the point, you told us not to replicate, but I would drive harder on the point of technology. Ours is a small industry. When you amalgamate the entire industry in North America and even take the continent, take Europe, and put us together, we take a look at our base systems, RTP and Sirius, where, for instance, our point of sale systems, and they're fundamentally still built on, and no matter how you try and put stuff on top of it, and as Hugh Smythe would say, bolt things onto it, it's still 1995 technology. And we're hampered in many ways in running the business. And I find ourselves, certainly we did at IntraWest then at that time, and as Dave knows, and we do at Squaw Valley Ski Holdings, we bend our business around our systems, and that's just fundamentally backwards. So I'd say that there's many aspects, consumer-facing as well as inside the company, that are, and we're very actively engaged in this, finding technology solutions to do everything that Tom talked about, but we've got to drive hard to find solutions to some of the challenges we have operating the company, consumer-facing, and it's not just about the whiz-bang on your cell phone stuff, on your mobile device stuff. It's really about making the systems do what we want them to do, not building our business around them.
Yep. Back to technology and innovation, which brings me to my next point. 5 years from now, what's it going to look like? So where are we going to be? Look into your crystal ball 5 years from now. I was going to say 10, but who knows? Let's go to 5. Let's reverse again back this way. Give us a look at, what innovation do you think might really make a difference?
I think that I think we actually are coming up on another wave of innovation in snowmaking technology, frankly. I think it's kind of simplistic as that sounds in the operational side of things. I happen to don't think it's a faith-based issue, but climate change is quite real and very much upon us. And so our kind of version 5.0 of working with the technologies around snowmaking going to have to make us better, faster, and providing you've got to keep in mind that fundamentally what we provide is the mountain experience. There's so many other aspects to it, day part and the experiential side, the emotional side, the sex, as Dana talks about. Those are all very important. But, sorry, you had to... But we still, I think there's going to be some innovations and the kind of the mountain experience, and I think we'll see that through snowmaking technologies, because things are not going to get easier. I really fundamentally don't believe that things are going to be easier as we go forward.
It will snow again in Lake Tahoe, I promise.
Oh no, but it's not just us. It's been us for the past 4 years, and Dave can tell you that. There's more to it than that.
Yeah, Dave.
It's interesting as you look at kind of historically and where we are today, and I think I think this whole consolidation and partnerships is going to accelerate. I think, we look at a big competitor being Vail in the room and what they are doing on a acquisition basis, and there's consolidation. And so you look at independent resorts, you look at other companies that have multi-resorts and how they're starting to work together. I just think that's at the thin edge of the wedge. I think that's going to go deep, and it's going to go long, and it's going to create some very interesting opportunities out there as we move forward in the next 5 years.
Bruce, if I could add on to that, I'd say, you take a look at the spectrum of what can happen with transactions and the like. In the absence of an actual acquisition, these strategic alliances to which Dave speaks are really not necessarily the next best thing. In some cases, they can be better than an actual transaction and a strategic
We're going to
maneuver.
get to that in a second.
Okay, but I tell you, I think Dave's exactly right. I think there's substantially more of that to come. We have the sophisticated analytics nowadays to understand where we compete with each other and where we don't, and in between, in those crevices, are programs like the Mountain Collective.
Yep. And the one on the T-shirt over there. So Tom.
So, I think in the future, as I said before, technology is going to be a big part. But to be building technology that already exists to share pictures on social media or tell you how many vertical feet you skied, all that technology is already on your iPhone. It was there 5 years ago. Okay, it tells you where your friends are. What we need to do is actually simplify the workflow processes, reduce the number of processes that the customer has to go through to actually book the trip and then enjoy the experience in the most frictionless and effortless way.
You're all about reducing friction.
Yep. And we don't go there, okay? I know what you're thinking.
We're going to move on. I wasn't thinking there. Okay, Dana.
Actually, I hadn't thought about that, Tom, but now you mention it.
I hope in the next 5 to 10 years, what we continue to do is to work closer and closer as an industry, to drive more diverse people into the sport, to drive more people into the sport in general for the benefit of all of us. I think we've started to see some of that, which you're going to talk about in a minute, and I think that's how long-term we're going to be sustainable as an industry.
So let's kick right into strategic alliances, because there's been some remarkable movements, starting probably with the Mountain Collective a couple of years ago. Now the Max Pass. In Colorado, we have the Rocky Mountain Super Pass, which is just fantastic. It seems to me that it's kind of all you guys, Intrawest, Powder, Boyne, and other related resorts fighting against Epic Pass and Vail. Where are you guys coming from?
Well, I would say it's all about the customer. It's all about being in the realm of possibility that they're going to come to your resort. And so, how do you want to align that? How do you want to go out there and be a part of that, that set? And I think certainly what Vail is doing is a very compelling offer to the guests. So then you've got to look at, well, what are the things that you can do as your resort, your collection of resorts that can be equally compelling or more compelling? And it sort of takes you down a road of things that you haven't done before. And it's interesting as you stick your toe in the water, as you learn more about it, how I think that whole thing can open up. But it really is about how do you become a part of that, potential guest consideration. And so, when you look at, again, you've got to use Vail. You can't ignore it. 400,000 Epic Pass holders. But you look at, our consortium of the Mountain Collective, and certainly much smaller. But then you also have to recognize that reaches also all into our other passes and cards, etc. So it's actually pretty interesting. And then where do you go from there? I mean, there's a number of areas. I mean, I go back to the old Whistler Blackcomb days. Whistler and Blackcomb, we competed all over the place. But you know what? We actually had a joint product. I know I saw Matt Mosteller here, sort of the Banff guys. I mean, they compete, tooth and nail all day long, but they have a combined product that they sell to the destination market. So it's certainly not unheard of. When I see, Intrawest, Boyne, and Powder coming together, I just think it's the tip of the iceberg. And you can do that. You can enter those relationships once you get the confidence and experience, without necessarily spending the money to buy the resort. So interesting.
So I want to throw something out, and then if you guys want to keep commenting on this, I always thought the ski industry spent way too much time competing with itself. I mean, we all know the business is fairly flat, at least in terms of skier days. So everyone's making sure they're protecting their share, stealing share. But the industry's not going to grow unless we work together. It sounds like now you guys have figured it out. So how do you keep doing that and keep partnering to grow the sport?
Well, I'll comment on that. I think I agree with you, by the way, the basic premise. Coming into the ski industry in the mid-'80s, in the 80s and the 90s, it was a lot of that. It was about share stealing. And the demography of North America, at the very least, actually brought about the opportunity to grow. And it was kind of provided to us. Particularly in the 70s and the 80s, skiing was such that you had to roll out of bed and work hard not to grow by 5, 6, 7% on volume and maybe 10 or 15% on top line. And so things are demonstrably different. And I would suggest that in the meantime, we've become sophisticated database marketers. Our CRM capabilities are advanced, notwithstanding the channels through which we communicate to our customers. But as Dave said, kind of version 1.0 might be the Mountain Collective, and 2.0 might be the Max Pass, and 3.0. We will be working more closely together. But I think a big part of it is being able to have the sophisticated analytics to be able to identify where we compete with each other, where we don't, and have some surety. We know where we can kind of grow the market together and know where we compete with each other and where we don't. And in turn, that allows us to, as the Max Pass very effectively does, take a pretty compelling product to a customer in different areas we might not normally go to. And the same thing with Mountain Collective, we'd like to think, and it's a collection of really fantastic resorts. By the way, back to an earlier point, you talk about the Epic Pass, where Dave and I and others, I think Christian Knapp is in the audience, he's kind of one of the creators of the Mountain Collective. We've oftentimes asked, particularly in the first couple of years, was that a response to the Epic? And the answer is frankly no. It's a demonstrably different product. It'd be lying to you to tell you it didn't make us think about coming together. But at the same time, it wasn't. It was based on analytics and trusted relationships and being able to work together and ultimately provide values to a great number of customers. And when you look at the ski industry today, compared to where we were in the kind of mid-'90s, the values offered to the customer are tremendous. I mean, there's this really substantial, not just price value, but the experiential side of things. It couldn't be a better era, I think, for the customer. And that's the way it should be. And that's why I think you'll see more of this.
So Dana, I want to make sure everyone in the audience knows about the Max Pass, what it is. If you could just do a really quick overview. No, I'm looking for the East Coast perspective because I think it is so East Coast focused. And I want to hear why it's really being developed from an East Coast perspective.
So for me, it's a skewed perspective. It's an incredible product to buy, 22 resorts and being able to ski 5 days at each. But what's more compelling for the East Coast properties and my sister resorts, Sunday River, Sugarloaf, and Loon, and the 26,000 seasons passes we have, is as a bolt-on product. For $249, you can bolt on the Max Pass. So that becomes the folks that have that Western aspiration of skiing, that they can go out there and do that. And it takes those folks and drives them to our partner resorts or our own resorts. So from an Eastern perspective, it's not only the pass itself, but the bolt-on product is more special.
So that makes a lot of sense for an Eastern skier. They ski at Sunday River. They get to come out for a week to Big Sky. Now, for a Western resort, where I can tell you I moved to Colorado in 1991, and I have not skied in the East since. So, sorry. It's just the way it is. So,
Well, it's not often that the moderator gets a boo.
yeah, really. Who was that? PJ, is that you?
Is that your brother?
So how do you look at it where you have both? You have East and West, so
Yep.
what's the perspective?
So again, one part I think is really important to get clear. The pass was actually done or designed based upon analytics, and the analytics started with there are several million skiers between New Jersey, southern New Jersey, and all the way up to Maine, okay? But when you take that analysis, you go, what do? They ski at their main mountain, or they ski at several resorts that are within a few hours' drive. They also, I think like everybody in this room, aspire to go out west And I take it from the perspective of a consumer. I learned to ski in the East. I aspired to go out West. I went out West. I went, wow, why would I ever ski in the East? But the reality of life sets in, and you have children, and you do ski in the East, and you think about the East Coast skiing as something different. It's important you enjoy it, but then you always aspire to go out West, and from there, frankly, you aspire to go heli skiing. And if you don't, you're missing it. For the Western person, you're absolutely right. The Rocky Mountain Super Pass Plus is a great pass, but with the ability to purchase a Max Pass, you have the ability for a Colorado person to jump on a plane and go to Montana, okay? You can chase the snow, right? This, to me, is the ideal of this pass. 22 resorts, you can chase the snow all over North America, including Canada in that. So if you're at Stratton, you can make the decision for a small price to be able to go up to Tremblant and ski there when the conditions are better. Or if you're in Tremblant or Blue Mountain, which is a very diverse mountain with a lot of beginner skiers, you could purchase this pass and you now have the ticket to come to Colorado. And so I actually think there is an appeal to the Western skier, but it was fundamentally designed for the East Coast skier.
And just for the guy who booed me, this might have been the year to come back east. I will admit that. So let's just stay on partnerships real quick before we go to the next topic. So we talked about these lift ticket partnerships. What else? And Dave, you were talking about how in the future you could see different kinds of partnerships. It can't just be lift ticket combinations.
Well, yeah, and certainly what went on the last couple of days, and how do the tour operators fit in? How does that work? How do you sell your resort? How do you sell your experience? In those far off markets where as one single company, you quite frankly don't have the marketing resources and network to do it on your own. And so that's a whole other area that we're kind of fumbling around in, and we got to figure out. But I think it's again a tremendous opportunity for us as our partnerships within the business actually go deeper. Because again, the market it's not just North America, the market is the world. And in fact, the growth is beyond North America. The growth is actually in other parts of the world.
So co-marketing and really getting out there with
co-marketing, relationships, distribution, the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyone else on that? Or should we move on?
I'll hit on that quickly. The Mountain Collective came about as a consumer product development, and not unlike the Max Pass, for Squaw Valley, there's a bolt-on ability to our season pass program, so there's value. But then those conversations were really important in creating another round of conversations on the technology topic from earlier in the conversation, and that is our company joined with Aspen Snowmass leadership, Jackson Hole, in this case IntraWest IT Vice President Jeff Grayson, and others, and actually taking a run at buying RTP to do different things with it strategically. And also, Whistler Blackcomb was very much a part of that. And what was interesting is that alliance, if you will, that started with a consumer product quickly backed into, hey guys, are you tired of bending your business around your technology platforms? And the answer was yes. And so we have and continue to make some great progress on that. So there's this kind of not very sexy, but behind the scenes, very, very important stuff going on that started with this affiliation, if you will, that was a consumer product. I think that's going to get rid of friction. And so anything you guys are doing to make your point of sale better that ties to your CRM, I congratulate you all for working on that together. And I would say keep pushing it and put some money towards that R&D and make it happen.
I would add to Andy's comment, as an industry, we're not unique in trying to get technology to work together. Your banking relationships, just coming from my other background, they wouldn't exist if there weren't consortia of banks working together, facilitating the ability for money to move between institutions nationally and globally. And it's not sexy work, but it is work that has to get done in order to improve the customer experience.
So I've got one more question that I want to just fire around pretty quickly, although it's a big topic, but we're almost out of time here. Summer. So everyone's doing some different things in summer. Of course, we've got mountain biking and hiking, and now we've got zip lining. But a lot of that is small in comparison to what you really need. Maybe it helps get your bed base going. How much does it really return to your EBITDA at the end of the day? So what do you think are the most important things? You don't all have to answer, but if we can just get a couple comments on what you can do for summer. I think we'll start with Dave because Whistler obviously is killing it in the summer. You've got the buzz in the town. Your beds are full. How do you make that happen and make sure it's not just we all want heads in beds, but how do we also get butts in seats in restaurants and bars?
Sure. I mean, it has been a community effort, for sure. As you go through the ebbs and flows of business, but clearly getting year-round business, and again, not just summer, but shoulder seasons is important for our resort to make it work. And I'm the first to say, for our resort, it is important, and we need to invest there, and we need to look at opportunities. There's some resorts, quite frankly, I think that they maybe have to look at a different model. But for Whistler, you kind of look at what we've done on the mountain. The Peak to Peak is a must-see, must-do attraction. Got the #1 downhill mountain biking park in the world. Between Tourism Whistler, Resort Municipality of Whistler, ourselves, our event strategy from Crankworks to Ironman Canada to Wanderlust to, you name it. I mean, we've got a series of events that happen over the summertime, combined with, great properties to host events and bring conventions here. I mean, you come to Whistler in the summertime, and whether it's golfing or biking or hiking, or you can do pretty much everything except maybe go to the ocean, but that's just down the road if you need to do that. So we're very focused on it. Our biggest challenge is, the opportunity is summer is wide open. I mean, anybody can come and enjoy summer, but it's also far more competitive because you're not just competing with other mountain resorts. And so that is tricky. And then how do you package and sell this thing of all this activity in a clear, concise manner? And I'd say that's probably our biggest challenge today.
It's all about animation in the summer. If you're near a relatively dense population, you can put animation in place, whether, again, it is bike parks or activities like Wanderlust that appeal to people who want to be in the outdoor lifestyle. It's all about animation. And the key is, if you're lucky enough to be in a dense geographic area and you have good programming people, you can actually make your summer business attractive. But if you're not near a dense area, it's very challenging. And I would agree with Dave. We have one resort that we're only going to be operating Thursday till Sunday because that's when the clients are there. We'll have a skeleton crew during the week, but I think people have to recognize that if they don't have the right population in their area to draw from, they have to scale back.
And even possibly close over the summer.
I would say that Dave is right. There are certain locations where that makes sense.
Yep. Either of you guys want to comment?
Yeah, just quickly, the revenue model is so dramatically different in the summer business. I mean, most of our ski area operating companies are similarly structured. And it's so different that we're more of an attractive place to come to as a sidebar activity than we are kind of the primary reason, kind of that lift ticket transaction and more as part of that. So the revenue model is different. And because of that, you really do have to lean on and rely on the entire community to develop that product. And I think Tourism Whistler and what Dave and Stuart have built here is not just the gold standard, but the platinum standard of how you can work together. And in our case, in North Lake Tahoe, we have Sandy Evans Hall and North Lake Tahoe Resort Association. And we're collectively working to develop that, not just because of intent, but the revenue model's materially different in the summer. And so it really takes that to succeed.
Yep. You want one last word, Dana?
Well, I think the animation that Tom talks about, if you can find people that are already doing it, at Sunday River, we brought in LL Bean to run the LL Bean Discovery Schools because it's something they had the talent to do, and those are very helpful. I think you do some similar things.
Okay, so the last question. We'll start with you, Dana, come back. 3 words that you think best describe the future of the travel or the ski travel industry.
How about sustainable, aspirational, and how could we not say fun?
Okay, the how can we say doesn't count. So sustainable, aspirational, and fun. Oh, and you're not allowed to repeat the words.
Thank you for letting me start.
Hey, Tom, you want to switch seats?
No, I would say technology, communication, and pushing fitness.
Fitness, good. All right.
Just I'd say you got to be careful. Is it the ski industry or is it the mountain resort industry? Like how you define yourself is really
Mountain resort
important.
industry.
So I have one word, and it's opportunity.
Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Andy, you can wrap it up.
Oh man, that's tough, you guys know. I'd say inspire. The best mountain resort destinations as well as their leadership have always had this ability to inspire.
3 words. I know that's hard for you.
Inspire.
He said inspiration.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I'm taking it in a different direction. Passion.
Okay.
You didn't say passion. Okay, passion. The passion has been and always will need to be there. And frankly, I think there's a lot of will involved with what we do. There's a lot of drive underneath what we do, and I think a lot of it has to do with will.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Worth, Dave Brownlee, Tom Moreno, and Dana Bowen. Thank you very much. Thank you.